Hello, everyone. I'm Larry Frank, and welcome to another episode of Frankly Speaking Sports. We are coming to you live from our Frankly Speaking Sports studios here in Hopkinsville, Kentucky. We want to wish everybody, that's right, we want to wish everybody a happy Memorial Day. And once again, we want you all to remember why we are here. And we want to thank all the men and women in uniform that have sacrificed their lives so that we can live freely. Oh, baby, what a game it was last night. What a game. We talked about everything the New York Knicks had to do yesterday in order to win game three. And, it was really a tale of two halves. We talked about the Knicks having to change things up. And it was Josh Hart. Give Josh Hart credit. The most unselfish player on the New York Knicks goes in to Coach Thibodeau, and they talk about him starting on the bench so that Mitch Robinson can go in, maybe give them a little bit more size, give them a little bit more intimidation, whatever. And that's what they did. They went ahead, they started hard on the bench, and it started well in the first quarter. The Knicks only trailed by 4 at the end of the quarter, but then came the second quarter. The second quarter killed them. They actually were outscored 28-19. They were down by as many as 20 points. That's right, 20 points in this game, but ended the half on a high note as they knocked off 7 points and was only trailing at that time by 13, which made it 58-45. So 58 to 45 at half. And some of the things we talked about, we changed things up. It didn't look like it was going to work in the first half. Still a lot of mistakes, but you could see in the first half. You could see in that second quarter towards the end, the Knicks were playing a lot more aggressive. And you were wondering, they were going to go on a run. But when the heck was it going to happen? And it didn't happen to the fourth quarter. But after the half, the Knicks came back. Karl Anthony Towns was in foul trouble. Jalen Brunson was in foul trouble. And the Knicks were only able to knock the Pacers' lead down to 10 by the end of the third quarter. But then came the Knicks. What did we talk about? You need to utilize the bench. We said you need to go ahead and play more intense defense. And believe me, that's what they did in the fourth quarter. It started with the bench. Josh Hart, who came off the bench, had 10 rebounds, 2 huge rebounds in the last minute of the fourth quarter. And then how about DeLon Wright? Had some great aggressive plays. And Landry Shamet, hit a 3-point shot and had a pair of assists in that quarter as well. So the bench, which has been the major problem, there wasn't trust in the bench. Finally, the trust came out, and guess what? The New York Knicks went on to win this game. Hart finished with 10 rebounds, 8 points, 4 assists, and I believe he had a steal in the game as well. So, the fourth quarter, the big man came through. That's right. The big man, Karl Anthony Towns, went off in the fourth quarter. I don't know how to describe it. He went off is probably the best way to talk about it. But before we get to Karl Anthony and what he did, I want to continue on this pesky defense that they played. This Knicks defense in the fourth quarter only allowed the Pacers to score 38.6% of their field goals. 30.6. This is a team that's been averaging over 50% throughout the year in field goal percentage. But how about that defense? They caused the Pacers, that's right, they caused the Pacers to commit offensive fouls. They caused them to turn over the ball. They caused them to make many, many, many mistakes in this game. And it definitely played in the hands of the New York Knicks. We talked about that aggressive defense, and they showed. But like I said, it was the big man who went off. Karl Anthony Towns, 20 points. That's right, 20 points in the fourth quarter. That's as many points as the entire Pacers team scored in the fourth quarter. The Knicks outscored them 36-20 with Towns, like I said, 20 points in the fourth quarter. He was 6 of 9 from field goals, 3 of 4. That's right, 3 of 4 from 3-point shots in the fourth quarter, 5 of 6 from the free throw line, and he had 8 rebounds in the game. Jalen Brunson, only played 30 minutes in this game. That's right. For a superstar, 30 minutes, but he was in foul trouble. He did have 23 points as well. But the 5 fouls, kept him on the bench. He was only 1 from 5 from 3-point line. So the New York Knicks, they go ahead, they win, they do the things we need to say. And they ask, what does this tell us about what has to happen in game 4 for the New York Knicks to prevail and tie the series at 2? Well, I'll tell you what, we talked about it, like I said yesterday, but they have to play the same way they played in the second half. They can't go down big and expect to come back every game, although it seems like in the playoffs, they have definitely made a habit of doing that. The other thing is that they didn't do well yet yesterday was transitional points again. They were outscored 16-2 in transitional points, so they have to get back on defense. They're still suffering a little bit. Getting back on defense. We talked about don't fall behind. They have to stay out of foul trouble. They have to stay out of foul trouble. I said it twice because 2 guys, Cat with 5 fouls, was able to go off in the fourth quarter. That's unbelievable. Brunson had 5 fouls, 2 of their main players with 5 fouls. Okay, they can't expect to have these guys sitting on the bench and continue to win. They have to also utilize that bench like they did this game. The bench was awesome. Payne hadn't been doing anything. We talked about it yesterday when we previewed the game. Payne hasn't been doing anything, so they used Shamet, they used Wright, and what happens? Both of them ended up being big keys to this victory, the 106-100 victory. Other than that, folks, that pesky defense, you got to be in their face. You got to continue to make them miss shots. You got to continue to have them turn over the ball. You have to continue to have them commit offensive fouls because your defense is right in their face. Can the New York Knicks win in game 4? Well, only time will tell, but I'll tell you what, they played a great fourth quarter, and if they can blueprint that fourth quarter, you never know what can happen, and they will definitely tie up the series at 2. I'm Larry Frank, frankly speaking sports.